want to punch the siding, but he knew he wouldn't win her back if he got angry. "Hey, babe." His breath fogged in the winter air as he offered her a grin. Hell, it was the only thing he had to offer her. He'd been given a mere $50 on his release from prison, and he'd spent most of that on the cab ride to get here. He leaned against the doorframe, hooking his thumbs in his belt loops and crooking his arms to emphasize the biceps he'd developed in the prison gym. "I'm home." A spotted cat twined around her ankles as she eyed his new muscles. She put her cigarette to her lips and took a deep drag before shooting smoke up the side of her mouth. "How can you be home? You've never lived here." True. When he'd left for prison, they'd been sharing a tiny two-bedroom apartment a couple miles away. "Besides," she added, "that's my decision, not yours." She had a point. This house belonged to her. She'd somehow managed to save enough of her tip money to put a down payment on the place and convince a bank to give her a mortgage. He'd never been able to save a penny, and there was no way he'd qualify for a loan. His credit score approximated his IQ. They'd even had to put his pickup truck in her name. The car dealer wouldn't have sold it to him otherwise. The truck was parked in her driveway now. "She hung onto my truck. That says something, don't it?" "I missed you," he said softly, locking his gaze on hers. "You were the first thing I thought about when I woke up every morning, and the last thing I thought about when I fell asleep every night." In between, he was mostly thinking of ways he could avoid getting the shit beat out of him, or worse. "I counted each second until I could see you again. It was the only thing that kept me going." He ran his gaze down her sweater and jeans to her boots and back up again. "Is it my imagination, or did you get even sexier while I was locked up?" She softened ever so slightly at his sweet talk, the change perceptible only to one who knew her so well. Taking a chance, he took a step toward her. She turned her head away. He recognized the gesture. It meant she was giving in, but felt ashamed of herself for it. He reached out to touch her hair, but she moved like a ninja, raising her arm to block his hand. Ashes fell from her cigarette to the porch. She dropped her cigarette after them, grinding out the butt with her heel. "Come on, Vicky," he pleaded. "Let me come in. It's cold out here." She crossed her arms over her chest, making no move to let him pass. "You brought me nothing but trouble. Give me one good reason why I should let you in." "Because I love you," he said. "I bet you still love me, too." She rolled her eyes. "Been there, done that. All it got me was heartache. You're going to have to come up with a better reason for me to let you back into our lives." Our lives? A hot spark flared in him. Their children were as much his as they were hers. Despite that fact, she hadn't once brought them to see him in prison during the year and a half he'd spent inside. But now that he was out, he could enforce visitation if he had to. Still, no sense getting her all riled up. "I've got a job." He'd been taught some job skills in prison, ones that would help him stay on the straight and narrow. "They're starting me tomorrow. I'll be able to pay you back that child support I owe you. Eventually." She issued a derisive huff. "I've heard this story before. It always ends in you getting fired." "Not this time." He closed his eyes and took a breath to calm himself. When he opened his eyes, he said, "I'm going to work hard, make something of myself, take care of you and the kids." "I'll believe it when I see it." A sweet little voice came from behind him. "Daddy?" He turned to see the yellow school bus rolling off down the side street and his 7-year-old daughter standing on the cracked sidewalk. She wore a puffy white jacket with black sleeves. Black ears stood up from the hood, which featured the face of a panda bear. Pandas had always been her favorite animals. Her hands gripped the front straps of her backpack slung over her shoulders. His heart soared. He knew a father wasn't supposed to play favorites, but he couldn't help it. He loved his 2 little boys. But Harper, his firstborn, had always been his pride and joy. A daddy's girl through and through. When she realized the man on her porch was, in fact, her father, her lips curled up in a smile that revealed a big gap between her teeth. When he'd last seen her, she'd still had all her baby teeth, and both she and her hair were several inches shorter. He'd missed out on a big part of her life. Another gap for the two of them. "I'll die before I let that happen again." "Hey, Squirt!" He bent down and stretched out his arms. She ran full speed right at him, her backpack slapping against her small shoulders. She nearly knocked him over as she hurled her.